Nevada voters had their say in Tuesday's primary, boosting many candidates by overwhelming margins in major races, but really delivering few surprises.
Politics Now co-host Steve Sebelius has been following Nevada election for decades. He's here now with 3 things you noticed on primary election day.
Well, you guys know every election has its own story. Like, for example, in 2014, there was the red tide that brought Republicans to power in Nevada. In 2016, Donald Trump upending the conventional political process. The story of the 2018 election isn't totally written yet, but here's a few takeaways that became clear from Tuesday's numbers. First, turnout. Typically, people go to the polls to vote for their president and their governor, and the numbers bear this out. In years when the governor's office is up, and especially when it's an open seat, primary election turnout usually soars. Now, over the past 20 years, primary turnout in gubernatorial years typically ranges from 27% to 30%. One exception, back in 2014, when popular Governor Brian Sandoval faced only token opposition. Remember, none of these candidates won the lackluster Democratic primary that year. But this year, even with an open governor's seat, turnout only got to 22.8% amid a nasty and bitter primary fight on the Democratic side. That's higher than the outlier election of 2014, but nowhere near as high as usual for an open governor's seat. You might wonder why turnout peaks for gubernatorial primaries and not in presidential years. Well, that's because Nevada picks its presidents with caucuses and not at the ballot box. But in 2004, with no governor's race and President Bush running for re-election, the primary saw an unusual 29% turnout. And then there's the progressives. In 2006, a progressive woman named Dina Titus defied the male-dominated Democratic establishment and won a primary against a moderate man, Henderson Mayor Jim Gibson, 54 to 36%. But this year, the progressive woman, Chris June Kiliani, lost to the moderate man, that's Steve Sisolak, 50% to 39%. Once again, the Democratic establishment was with Sisolak. Only this year, Dina Titus endorsed the moderate as well. And it wasn't just in the governor's race that progressives fell short. In Congressional District 4, progressives such as State Senator Pat Spearman and healthcare activist Amy Vilela came in second and third, respectively. Robert Langford fell short in his bid to unseat District Attorney Steve Wolfson. Progressives are still a very vocal and active part of the party, but perhaps not as politically powerful as in the past. One final note on this, in 2006, Titus ended up losing to a conservative named Jim Gibbons, and many Democrats this year voiced fears that June Kiliani wouldn't be able to defeat conservative Republican nominee Adam Laxalt. And while you'll probably hear attacks on Sisolak calling him a liberal, that's just simply not true. And finally, Nevada will be saying welcome back to a couple of familiar faces. In Congressional District 4, 2 former political rivals are fighting for a comeback. Former Congressman Stephen Horsford represented the district from 2012 to 2014 when he was defeated by former Congressman Crescent Hardy. Then Hardy lost his seat to Reuben Kewen, who in turn was felled by sexual harassment allegations. But with Horsford winning the Democratic nomination and Hardy winning the Republican, it's guaranteed one of the district's 2 former representatives is going back to Washington. And over in Senate District 8, 2 ex-assemblywomen won the right to challenge each other to take over the seat that Senator Patty Farley is giving up. Democrat Marilyn Dondero Loop ran for the seat in 2014. She lost to Farley. And Assemblywoman Valerie Weber left office back in 2008. She's back after a 10-year hiatus. No matter what, one of those 2 will be serving in Carson City come the next legislature. And ironically enough, when Weber opted not to seek re-election back in 2008, it was Dondero Loop who replaced her. Now, there's much more to talk about from Tuesday's primary, so don't forget to join Patrick Walker and me at 4:30 p.m. Saturday for a special post-primary edition of Politics Now, when we'll talk about the primary and look forward to November's general election.
Everything old is new again.
Yes, absolutely. In Nevada, we recycle.
That was like a 3.5-minute political science class. That was good stuff, Steve.
It was.
And you both audited.
By the way, you were 100% on all the elections, too. All the stuff you've been talking about the past couple weeks?
So. I don't think I missed any.
No, I know sure. So. I was listening the past couple weeks.
Yeah. Maybe I missed the Hoff one out in Nye County, but that's
that may be the only surprise.
There's always next time, Steve.
Yes, absolutely.
You still get an A. All right, thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Well, more